Welcome to the Mom at Home podcast. We're your hosts. I'm a Gen X mom. My name's Sarah.
And I'm a Gen Z daughter. My name's Anna.
We're trying to discover what it means to be brave, be willing to have that adventure of a lifetime, and how to feel at home.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Anna.
And we are here for season 2.
Season 2 of our podcast.
Season 2 of our podcast.
How many episodes was season
Our
1?
first season was 2 episodes. Thanks for all of our listeners who got through the whole season.
Thanks for our sponsors.
We're back, and we are going to talk about traveling today. Anna had a chance recently to study abroad, and so we're going to talk a little bit about the lessons and the experiences of traveling, and then what it was like to come home with that experience in your heart and in your mind and come back into your regular life.
Yeah. I loved study abroad. It was only a 3-week program, which feels barely like a study abroad. It feels like a vacation almost. And the entire purpose of the study abroad was to make an art book. Because at the end, we were going to come home, we were going to submit images, and then potentially get into an art book about photography. So the study abroad was based in photography, but they brought along photographers and illustrators, which was really cool actually, because I don't usually get to talk to photographers a lot.
I think it's an interesting pair because
Yeah.
they're both in the umbrella art department, but from a technical standpoint, photography and illustration are very different.
Yeah, they're so different.
The skills that you need and the tools you're using are very different. So I think it's a really interesting complement to have assignments in locations where some people are taking pictures and some people are sketching and drawing and things like that.
Yeah, it was really cool, and they really encouraged us to collaborate together, which I thought was a great idea. And did I ever do that? Not really, but it was cool seeing them work, and I do think it did actually change how you thought about things, because before we even went, we learned about, I believe it's called a cyanotype. You have these big trays, and they're usually filled with different chemicals, and that's how photography originally happened. We'd take leaves, and it would make an impression, a light impression, and that's kind of how it worked. I don't remember how it worked.
She was prepared for her study abroad because she did assignments in the photography department.
I was like, I know so much about photography. No, I don't really remember, but we had chemicals and we put it in.
There was light and there was dark.
There was dark cubes. We put it in the cube. Leading up to it, I wasn't really, was I nervous? I don't think I was.
Not really. You like to travel.
The new thing for me was traveling for such a long time.
Right.
Well, I was a little bit nervous because I was supposed to sleep on the plane.
But did that happen?
No.
So then you land in Europe and it's
Yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning and you have to be awake for another 12 hours before you can go to sleep.
And I was so tired. That was rough. I didn't stand up the whole flight. So when I stood up, my ankles were like poofy. Like I looked like a marshmallow, and I could like press my ankle and it would indent because I didn't stand the entire flight.
Oh my gosh. So how did your perspective change when you're in this new environment? They studied in France and in London, in England, right?
Yeah,
All
it was
the
France
countries.
and the UK.
How does that kind of environment change your perspective?
I think it totally just depended on where we were, because we had opportunities to go to the countryside of each place and then to the city in each place, which was really cool. All the cows are different. Everywhere you go, they have different flavor cows, which
It's a
is
good
cute.
analogy for life.
It's actually really cool because it's like almost like home, but then it's not. And so it makes you kind of feel like a lost puppy a little bit. Because you're in the grocery store and it kind of looks like your grocery store. The signs are there, you walk in, there's rows and there's
food
items.
in our grocery store and there's food in our grocery store.
Right. But you look, and like when I was in London, everything's in English, and it was like, okay, I can kind of figure it out, but everything's still in a different place. It's like they have your same store size, but then you don't know where anything is, and you're just running around, and everyone knows there's American kids there because we're loud, and there's 12 of us, and we're just annoying, and we just don't know where the eggs are. And so that was kind of interesting because it just makes you feel a little bit frazzled, like you're in a dream where you're in the place you're supposed to be, but you're not actually there. But then in France, that's where it was bad because I just felt really like I didn't get homesick until a week in because that's when we went to France, or a week and a half. And
Yeah.
I just felt so just homesick because I look around, I can't even read the signs if I'm bored. Like I'm looking around, everything's different. I only took French for a year, 2 years in high school, did terribly.
I tried to help you with your French homework once.
And it was terrible because she was reading it like je suis.
Like
What does it mean? And I was like, I don't know. All I could say was like, j'adore le chocolat.
So what do you think are the negatives and the positive of that huge perspective shift?
I think it
As
just
a youth.
makes you realize like you're just so small. And what you do at home, we think everything's a big deal. At least I do.
Yeah.
I get in my head a lot, but when you're in places like that, you're like, dang, everybody's got their own thing. And everybody's such a little part of this big thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat because, yeah, we find our little communities and things that run and make things a big deal. But in reality, like, things are really not a big deal
Really?
because you feel really small.
Oh, and I think for me, as you're talking, the takeaway, that feeling of like, I'm so small in this huge cog.
Mm-hmm.
But the opposite of that is like, and I still matter, right?
Yeah. But it does, though. In France, there's these patisseries, which is just a bakery.
Yeah.
And it's so good. I don't know. You've never been to, anyway.
France.
But yeah, they're just these little bakeries, and every morning they have all of their new goodies in the case. And especially in Paris, like closer to Paris or closer to when you're in the city, it's really busy in the morning because everyone's coming to get their little croissant. It's kind of cool because you just think more about people as they are. Because when you're like at a Wendy's, you're like, oh, this is just the person that works at the Wendy's. You're not really thinking about it, but then you're at a patisserie and it's in France, and you're like, oh, these cities are so fan, like they work here. Like, oh, they have a whole life. And
You can imagine this life that they have outside of that moment you see them, and you just wonder, what is it like to work here? And I wonder where they live, and what's it like to be so good at making croissants?
Yeah, and you see like how fast or how can I blend in the best? How can I be normal?
How does that experience translate to home? Having that perspective about people's experiences day to day, how does that impact you now?
I've never been the type of person to like look down on someone if they can't speak English or if they don't know what's happening or if they're like
But it's different when it's you.
But when it's you, you're like, dang, this is really hard. And I'm actually it's really uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't know how people just go live in places where they don't understand the language.
Yeah.
It gives me a ton of empathy for people.
Because when you chose to speak French, people were really nice about it.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that.
But like, if somebody were not American and they came here and they started speaking English, you wouldn't be rude about it. You'd be like, I can't believe you're trying to speak English. You'd be like, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
You're doing it. I'm so proud of you.
And I think they thought we were cute. We're just there and we're trying our best. And so I think just us trying, they were nice to us. And I feel like I'm always told that French people are mean or brash or something. And it gave me a new perspective because I was asking for water. Because I wanted water, but it's eau. De l'eau. Eau is the word, but then you have to say de l'eau. But my friend went and I was like, oh, I think I know the word for this, but I don't know. And I go up to the counter and I'm like, oh? 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 Like, I was pointing at it. Oh? But she like took a minute, even though I was busy, she took a minute and she was like standing right in front of me and she was like, oh, de l'eau. And I was like, yes, yes. And she's like, no, de l'eau. And I was like, de l'eau. And she was like, no, de l'eau. And I was like, l'eau. She kept correcting me, and then finally when we got at least a little bit of improvement, she was like, yeah, oui. And she was so sweet, and I was like, okay, people are people regardless of where you are.
Do you think that people, like, you find those kindnesses because you're kind? It's a mirror? Do you think people who are rude find rude people in France?
Probably. If you're like, I want a water.
I mean, do you think that that's true? Because I think that the overgeneralizations are probably come from truth somewhere.
Right.
But
I think you find what you're looking for.
That's right.
Yeah. So if you're looking for, I mean, I had maybe a few instances where it was like, oh, this person is not super excited to be serving me, but like they're still doing it.
Right.
But every time that happened, I was like, no, I get it, girl. Like, this is so irritating. Like, don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry.
How was it like to travel in that big of a group? Because it's different than traveling with your family or like your best friends. That you're
Yeah.
like, let's go to France.
Yeah, it's really cool because you do make a ton of friends and with people that you probably wouldn't really socialize with otherwise. I would if I saw them, but I don't. And so it forced you to be together all the time and you get pretty close and then you figure out everyone's lives.
That left their boyfriend at home.
Yeah.
Who's crying in the closet
Yep.
while they're talking to their boyfriend at night.
Yep. Yep. Who are they dating or who are they talking to? What are their hobbies?
And who stays with the group and who needs a little
stays-
bit of extra encouragement.
Who sections off with other people and just doesn't want to mingle with the people. And sometimes some people would take that personally and be like, they're not wanting to be with the group. And we're a family. The family sticks together.
Right.
But some people just don't really want that. They just want their buddy.
Now here's the application, because as a young adult, and you're almost finished with college, I don't want to put ideas into your brain, but that literally is life now. As a child, you kind of get sheltered in our own little family system and our own little community, and then you have to adult and work with other people. So how did that experience impact you working with groups as you've come home? Or what do you feel like could be the takeaway from you for having that experience?
I think just knowing that it's important to maybe be out of your comfort zone a little bit. You just decide what you want. If I look to the future and I'm like, I want a lot of friends and I want a community and I want people to look after me and I want to look after them, you have to create that culture and you have to put your foot forward a little bit. And it's not super hard once you're in there, but before you have to take steps to like get out of your comfort zone. Because like I came with someone that I knew really well. She's one of my best friends. And I thought, oh, I'm going to rely on them to help me speak French because they can do that. They're going to help me with all this stuff and we're going to be together the whole time. But it ended up where like we were together a lot of the times. Yes, we're friends, but I was able to make other connections and we didn't have to rely on each other as much. And I think it just shows that it's a good idea to get out of your comfort zone a little bit because I know people where they really didn't.
Not everybody had the same positive experience you had.
Yeah, or they just didn't have the same community experience.
Right. And I think in America right now, there's a lot of division and there's a lot of competing values. And I think that concept of if we set an intention, what kind of experience do we want to have? And realize those differences actually help make a more beautiful, complete experience. Yeah. And we don't have to assimilate to become like each other, but we do get to work together to have a positive experience. And I think that could be a lesson takeaway.
Yeah, I think to add on to what you said, it's actually so beautiful because it reminded me of how at first everyone was kind of buying their own food. We were all just kind of buying our individual things and it ends up being more expensive and more work and stuff. But then as the time went, we assimilated and then we'd have groups of people who would cook together and we'd make meals together and then we'd Venmo each other for them food. And there was this one person, she's such a great chef and who would have known, right? But she would pick on Pinterest what she wanted to make and then we'd go to the French little store and we didn't know what anything was, but we'd go find the things. But we'd come home and we'd have these delicious meals. Like still to this day, it's been 8 months and I don't think I've eaten anything that even competes because like all the ingredients were so good. And then the people being able to sit at a table together with all these friends that you've made. You're like gathered and you're eating this delicious food and then you go and you sit in a hot tub and you spill tea about your lives. It's just such a cool experience and it's like that only happens when you like get a little bit out of your comfort zone every so often. Yeah. And like sometimes you don't get what you want. Like there was a lot of sleeping situations where it was like someone was sleeping in the butt crack of the couch.
Sorry, it's your turn for the butt crack again.
My poor friend, we had to like stack pillows and stuff as her bed one day because we were lied to and they said they had space for us. They had a great attitude about it and then we figured it out. She's not gonna be in the butt crack again. Someone else is going to be. And it just shows it's just really cool to problem solve, to create so many connections and friends. I think having a good attitude will make or break any experience in your life. You can have a great day or a terrible day and it's most of the time completely up to you.
Yeah. You even have a terrible day when you're in another country studying abroad. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, of course, there's things that are out of our control, but even when they are, it's like, what is your attitude about it?
Yeah. And in that situation, For example,
Mm.
at some point in every person's life, they have to decide what they want to create
Mm.
outside of their family of origin
Mm.
or outside of their personality. It's like you have to decide how you're going to show up in that space. And that's the beautiful thing about growing up. Hopefully, you have this family of origin that can help guide and instruct and cultivate. But then as you're stepping out into the world, it's like, well, what do you want to create?
It kind of helps to remind you there's so many different choices you can make, and you don't have to follow one set path just because maybe your community encourages it. There's so many possibilities, and it just takes getting a little bit out of your way to maybe realize that.
I think that's actually so important. And
Mm.
because it's so important, I want to stick here for just a minute.
Mm.
Give us some examples. What are some, for examples? There's so many options.
Yeah, I mean, the first ones that come to mind are the ones that are prevalent in my community. Settling down and having a life at a certain age, or maybe having a certain type of job, or maybe not being encouraged into something more creative.
I talk about this in therapy a lot because I always thought, okay, either this thing that has always happened has to be the way we do this,
Mm.
or the exact opposite.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are the only two options.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm so stressed out about that thing.
Yeah.
And my therapist was like, there are so many options.
Mhm.
There's a million different ways you can handle this. So I feel like study abroad, family relationships, whatever you're dealing with, to our listeners,
Mhm.
having that idea of like, there are so many ways to go about this.
Yeah.
And so maybe even like there's challenges you're experiencing in your own life, or you want to travel and you're like, what do we do? Do we
Right.
do the same thing we do every time?
Mm.
But what a great opportunity to be like, there are so many different options,
Yeah.
especially now
Mhm.
in the world that we live in with technology and traveling
Right.
and resources. There's so many different options.
Yeah, like there's so many options. If you want to sell your house, get a camper, go on vacation.
So the thought that I have, like the paradox to that is the gift of this life, I think, is to expand.
Mm.
But if we're so expansive, then we don't actually reach a destination.
Right.
So then it's like then to have the courage to follow a direction.
To pick something.
Yes.
Because if you say, the world is my oyster, I'm not going to pick anything, you actually are picking something, because then you just pick what comes to you rather than being intentional about your choices.
Yeah.
That's something I think about a lot when it comes to career paths and things, because you should be taking opportunities as they come and having a goal and pivoting when you need to change your goal, but being so intentional about that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you don't decide, life will decide for you. And
Correct.
sometimes that can be kind of tricky.
So for example, you had to create art.
Mhm.
You got to create and decide how you wanted to show up.
Mhm.
What did you end up doing for your art production?
So I'm going to tell you about how I approached it when I was there. While I was on my vacation, I decided I didn't want to. Because my professor and everybody were very adamant. They're like, we're going to make this book. You should be making stuff every day, like submit your stuff every day. And I, as my mom will tell everybody, like, I just don't love being told how to do things. I'm okay with the goal, but how to do it for me, sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it my way. And so I reluctantly came up with the idea about Monet and his work, which was really cool. And he's the one, for anyone who doesn't know Monet, Google him, but he has impressionistic stuff. And so, because we're doing photography, we were talking about how photography influenced how art was made, because we no longer needed photographic, realistic imagery painted.
Interesting.
We didn't need that anymore because you could just snap a picture, so they didn't find as much value in the painters who could do really hyper-realistic. And so it started changing and evolving, where people who were doing impressionism, which means think more like globby paint and like brush strokes and just things that look kind of like things but not quite like the things, and like that kind of thing. And they have really beautiful color. And I'm really inspired by the color of that, but I'm not very inspired by the content because it's usually landscapes. Monet is really good at color, landscapes, brush strokes. He's really well known for like his lily pads. And so we were looking at some of his big, huge pieces. Like, we're seeing the real things on the walls, and it's like down in this basement, and it's like really cool. And we go past like some of the more well-known ones, which we of course got pictures of. But then we would go over to the side and there's the lily pads and there's more blue and green. And I was like, this is so beautiful. And then sitting right by it was this statue of him. It was a portrait statue, not even the bust, just shoulders up. And it was of him. And so I snapped a few pictures of him because I love painting people. And I was like, what if I combine these two things? And I kind of do like with this fun brush stroke style, I could make his face and make it a little bit more artsy fartsy impressionistic, but I can still paint a portrait how I would want to. So that's my big piece I did. And then I did a lot of just random spot illustrations, which just means little drawings of like the different cameras and the different camera lucida is a thing that we used and all the little chemicals and bottles and potions. I did probably 10 of those.
I love that. So one of the things that you said really struck me is that
Mhm.
there was a time in art where artists were in charge of documenting what people saw.
Yeah.
And then this new technology came about and
Mhm.
changed the need for that.
Mhm.
Are we seeing that repeat in history right
Maybe.
now?
I can't think of anything.
I mean, I can't think of anything, but I think
Right.
that's a really interesting conversation because it
Yeah.
really comes down to value.
Mm.
There's a historical part of how are we documenting our experience, and art is one of the most beautiful ways we can document our experience, whether
Yeah.
it's through our voice or art or journaling
Mhm.
or embroidery or whatever medium we want.
Mhm.
But talk a little bit about the value of art. What did you learn? What's tragic about it and what's beautiful about what you
Mm.
saw with the value of art?
I think art shows you what people care about.
Say that
Because
again. Say it
art
again.
art shows us what people care about.
That's beautiful.
But when you're able to see what did people choose to paint or what did people commission to be painted, because you're spending a lot of money
Yeah.
on these big things. We went to so many museums and we went to places with impressionism. We went to the Louvre. We went to all these places that have hyperrealism and they have blah 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 whatever. But there's a lot of aristocrats. They care about wealth. They care about showing up posh and showing people how much money they have. And so it's them and they have jewels and gold and or you have family portraits or you have hyper realistic horse. Somebody cares about that. Really impressive. Or you have really great storytelling.
I think that for me, that's one of the best takeaways from this conversation is art shows us what we care about.
Mm-hmm.
So think about like what kind of art do you have in your home? What kind of art do you have on your walls? What kind of art are you wearing with jewelry and
Yeah.
printed t-shirts and what kind of art's on your phone case?
Yep.
I think that's a really beautiful to see. Like art takes an extra couple heartbeats to create and it's about expression and it's about emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And art doesn't just happen in a vacuum. We have to nurture it. And I think we're especially emotional about it right now because of AI. We're not sure how AI is going to transform that experience.
Yes.
But in all periods of time, art has required an extra couple heartbeats. And so I think that's really cool to see. What you're doing is really amplifying what people care about.
I love that. And it's cool because people sacrifice a lot for art. Take someone like Van Gogh, had a lot of mental things that were really hard, but someone like Van Gogh where like they're poor and you're like, why are you gonna choose to be poor so you can make and create? And it's really fascinating because that's the value of art to people is they will sacrifice literally everything.
But the interesting thing that I learned about Van Gogh specifically, he died totally poor.
Yep.
And his brother
Yep.
inherited all of his work,
Uh-huh.
and his brother died.
Uh-huh.
So his brother's widow had all of this of Van Gogh, and she was trying to get it into the community, and nobody cared about it.
Yep.
And then what happened is she started publishing his letters
Oh.
with his art that actually told the struggle and the story. So there's a painting of his desk.
Isn't that fascinating?
I got goosebumps,
Like,
you guys.
I'm literally having the revelation of like, of course Van Gogh's art is literally stunning and amazing, but nobody cared about it until they knew
the
the sacrifice.
Well, they knew
and
the
the
story.
story.
So apparently he had horrible mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and he finally was able to work hard enough to buy enough money to buy this desk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the letter paired with the painting, now it's like, why is there this painting of this desk?
Yeah.
Now it's worth like $1.8 million. And it's because of the story that went with it,
It's so amazing.
which I think is really interesting. So as a budding artist, what
Mhm.
can you learn from that? What are your thoughts about
I mean, there's
that?
so many lessons, but having a story and telling people the story, because that's what people care about. They care about humans. They care about story. You have to have your Walt and you have to have, what's his brother's name? I don't know. Walt Disney and his brother. Roy?
Roy,
Yep. You have your Walt, you have your Roy. You need both.
you need both.
And I think there's such a push right now of let's push artists out, let's keep the Roys, right? Or let's make the Roys be able to be the Walts. And they just can't. We
Well,
need
that's kind of
both.
like saying, let's keep the brain, but the heart is out.
Yeah.
And you can't have a human without a heart and a brain. You have to
Yeah.
have both of those pieces.
Yeah.
But I love that art shows you what people care about.
Yeah. And it showed me what I cared about, because even when I was there to create, it was like, when am I inspired and when am I not? What things are really like grabbing my attention and I'm like, I have to draw that. I can't let this moment pass. And what things are like, no, it's actually more valuable to be here in the moment and soak up everything I can. And that way, when I go home, I have more because I've just experienced everything. It's like, when do you experience things in the moment? When are you trying to be so present versus when are you trying to prepare for the future?
I love that. I heard about a study that was done about people who actually went to a museum, and some of them took their phones to take pictures of the things, and some of them weren't allowed to have phones and they just had to be there.
Right.
And the ones who did not have technology remembered the museum more effectively than the ones who took evidence with their phone.
When you don't have a phone, it forces you to remember the thing because you're never going to be able to be there or remember it again. It's like almost like your brain is maybe like, oh, we can throw this away now. We
Right.
have it here. Really
That totally makes sense because our brains are the biggest supercomputer we'll ever own.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're not utilizing the information and putting it in our brain because we're actually absorbing the information, how would it remember?
Yeah. How do I have so much storage? My phone storage be filling up so fast. Like how, I mean, that's
Right?
my brain's probably throwing out things left and right.
So now that you've been home, what do you appreciate more about home after you traveled abroad?
Oh, I like the convenience. It's so much more convenient. Like, of course, there's walkable cities. Those are super convenient. But if you really don't want to walk somewhere and you're just down to like get in a car and go, it's just so much easier. Our roads are like, when you got an 8-lane highway, you have a lot of convenience. You can drive right up to the Walmart. You don't have to walk.
Right.
And we also didn't have a car, but even if we did have a car, the roads are tiny, like they're squished. And our professor literally was, while he was driving, he hit the mirror of somebody's car and he just kept driving. But we're in this huge van. Like, you can't take a big van in the streets in France. You're in these little countryside roads. It's a 1-lane highway, and then when a car comes, they're speeding by because they don't care. But you think they're gonna hit you, and you're like in the bushes, and you're like, oh, it's so stressful. So I really appreciate
Shout out to the professors who take these amazing students every year.
when they have to deal with us. Like we called them our gay dads because they are just the two guys. Like
There's two professors.
Two professors. They both have wives, by the way, but they're just in love with each other, and so they were our two gay dads, and we love them. But anyway, doesn't matter. I really appreciate. What do I appreciate about home? I appreciate my family and my community, and I do appreciate that I have such like-minded people around me and I surround myself with really good people. I appreciate houses that aren't 1,000 years old is nice. Like, they are cardboard. Like, don't get me wrong, American houses are made out of cardboard, right? Comparatively to the UK, which is all brick and mortar. But no, like I do like it when like my door handle is only a few years old and not like this like I got to get this big key. It's like the ones from like the Middle Ages and you have to put it in and there's like a keyhole. There's literally a keyhole. We don't even have a keyhole. We have like a little slit. We have a little like but they have a keyhole and I have to like the thing it has knobs like the key has knobs and it has like and the window opens weird and the UK, London food, the UK food, terrible, terrible. I wouldn't recommend. I don't
Mush
like it.
peas?
Mushy peas. All I would ever order was fish and chips. And it still has the skin on it, by the way. It like they bread it with the skin, which I didn't mind. I was okay. But the one time I was like, let's mix it up. Like, let's try something new. And I went up and I ordered the soup of the day. They're like, soup of the day. And I was like, oh, soup of the day. Like, is it going to be something really yummy? And I order whatever it was. And it was like some sort of vegetable, but it was grinded up. And then they had a base, but it was like, and then it was a soup base with pulp in it. Not good. I'm grateful for the food here. I'm grateful for the diversity of food here because you could get anything you want. My favorite food was the Indian food. It wasn't even Indian. It was something else, but same genre. What was it called? I don't remember, but it was really delicious.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. What else? Oh, French crepes are on another level. They're not the same as here.
So good.
Anyway, I'll stop talking about the food. Me being like, yeah, the art, whatever. But the crepes.
If you were just going to talk to a friend in college or finishing high school,
Yeah.
what would you encourage them to do
Loves.
based on your experience in traveling?
Loves. It's time to go. It's time to get out of here. I would pick some programs or things that you want to do and just see if it's a potential for you. There are some things that are going to be more doable and some things that you might have to save up for or you might be out of the way, but they're so worth it. I had 3 things maybe on my bucket list for college. Only one of them I haven't done and I probably won't. The one that I haven't done was go to Korea and teach English because I had a Korea boo phase. No, I didn't have a Korea boo phase, but I watched K-dramas in high school and I was like, oh, that would be so
What
cool.
are your other 2?
But my other 2 was working in Florida and going on study abroad. And I didn't really care where I was going to go on study abroad. But for Florida, I went and they did the Disney college program and then I did the study abroad. But I would highly recommend just pick some goals, and even if it's just one that you can do and you have to save up your whole college time and then you can go at the end or whatever.
I think that
I
it's
think
the
it's a
most
good idea.
important, one of the most important things. I experienced study abroad when I was in college. And I
Yeah.
feel having that moment in time where you're not responsible for other humans yet.
Mhm.
And so you can be selfish, air quotes, selfish, and just worry about you
Yep.
and discovering that the world is a bigger place
Mhm.
and to collect parts of you that you didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And then when you come home, you can experience life in a new way, in a new
You
perspective.
can enjoy it and enjoy what you have.
Yep.
Be thankful for your cars and your ability to get into a Walmart. Walmart is a beautiful place. You don't understand. If you're in France, you have a different store for everything. You're at Walmart, you can get nuts and bolts, you can get some bread, and you can get some tires.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in today, you guys.
Thank
The Mom
you.
at Home podcast. Tune in next week as we dive into some new fun topics about learning how to fly and coming home to rest.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Subscribe.